Welcome, everyone, to another debate from Intelligence Squared US. I'm John Donvan of ABC News, and once again, I have the pleasure and the honor of serving as moderator as the 6 debaters you see sharing the stage with me here at the Skirball Center for the Performing Arts at New York University. 6 debaters, 3 against 3, will be debating this motion: organic food is marketing hype. Now, this is a debate. This is not a panel discussion or a seminar. It's a contest. One team will win and the other will lose. And so on to the debate.
The other claim that is ubiquitous is that organic farming is better for the environment. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has agreed with this. Organic farmers build soil. They add humus to the soil. They reduce greenhouse gases. They reduce the loss of nitrogen into the groundwater. They promote biodiversity. They don't kill bees. They don't kill frogs. They don't kill beneficial insects.
Organic production requires its own set of environmental trade-offs. Organic food takes more land than conventional farming to produce the same amount of food. Corn borers cause corn to drop ears, corn stalks to fall over. They also damage the husks of the corn, making it vulnerable to a soil-borne pathogen called aflatoxin, which causes liver cancer in humans. The insecticide Bt, produced by corn grown from genetically modified seed, causes corn borers to swell like a balloon and to explode. Bt corn, of course, disqualifies my crop as organic, even though a nearly identical pesticide is available to organic farmers.
The products that they can apply encompass essentially all of those that pose any risk to humans or the environment. It's true organic farmers can use some natural products like copper fungicides. Sulfur is used to help protect diseases. A natural insecticide.
Key is nitrogen. The Earth had 1.5 billion people before we got nitrogen fertilizer. We would still be at 1.5 billion people were it not. That might be better. We will have, by the year 2050, between 8 and 9 billion people.
What's that got to do with how organic food is marketed in the United States? What's the point?
When I apply nitrogen on some of our acres from manure, and when I apply some nitrogen from some of our acres commercial fertilizer, how does the soil know the difference?
In America, in the Midwest, less than 35% of the nitrogen that gets applied winds up supporting the growth of that corn plant. And the rest, some of it goes into the water, and some of it volatilizes into the environment. Organic farmers, on the other hand, nitrogen is expensive to them because they don't have access to these cheap commercial sources of readily available nitrogen fertilizers. They have to get their nitrogen the old-fashioned way with cover crops and legumes and compost. And it's dear to them and it's valuable, and they use it much more carefully. They don't need as much to support the same amount of growth. They don't pollute the water. They don't contribute as much to global warming, and they improve the quality of the soil. And it's these sorts of win-win-wins that are why even the USDA acknowledges that organic farming is better for the environment.
The question for you is, if I gave you an apple and you had to do an analysis to determine whether it was organic or not, and it was a scientific analysis, presumably a chemical or physical analysis, what exactly would you do to verify that it was an organic apple?
Yeah, your point is well taken. It is a production. It's the Organic Food Production Act, and it's about production, and the seal is on the food, and that it is about what goes into the production of that apple or that orange. And just incidentally, there's also a whole scientific advisory board that reviews and approves materials that are allowed and prohibited in processed foods as well as in fresh food. So there is a whole framework around that, and that's what we're here to talk about today. That is the foundation of what it is.
Because the NRC says that there's no conceptual distinction, that's the National Research Council, your government, no conceptual distinction exists between genetic modification of plants and microorganisms by classical methods or by molecular techniques that modify DNA and transfer genes. There is no difference. It's just a faster and more effective way of improving crops. The biggest mistake the organic standards made was not accepting genetically modified seeds. Absolutely. How many of you
That is
have bought
untrue.
genetically modified seed? How many of you have toured Monsanto's laboratories? How many of you know the process that it goes through? I mean, wait.
Charles Minberg.
This is an important point. On Blake's farm, we were speaking on the right over here. You'll be getting out in the field pretty soon to plant corn, right? Mm-hmm. In the next couple of weeks. And that corn will germinate in 10 days, and it will grow vigorously, capturing solar radiation, pulling up nitrogen from the soil, and producing a crop for about 90 days. And after 90 days, it goes into senescence. It has to dry so he can get his combine out in. And really from the second week in August, maybe the third week in August, that field really isn't growing anything more. Organic farming is based on a much more diverse set of crops. Organic farmers are going to get a cover crop onto the corn ground as soon as it's harvested, so that fall solar radiation is captured and supports biomass, which supports microorganisms in the soil. So the way that organic farmers can and do produce more per acre is they produce multiple crops, they integrate livestock and often fish with their crops, and they're using that solar radiation in the early spring and the late fall when it's not as intense in the summer.
Dennis, can you respond to Charles's point that he made about essentially that an organic farmer is working a more diverse range is working the soil in more diverse ways by introducing different crops and its interaction with livestock?
It's certainly working in more diverse ways, and I want to compliment the organic movement for having been concerned from the beginning with the health of the soil.
So the results are in. Before the debate, on the motion organic food is marketing hype, before the debate, 21% of you were for the motion, 45% were against the motion, 34% were undecided. After the debate, 21% remain for the motion, 69% are against, 10% are undecided. The side against the motion wins. Congratulations to them. Thank you from me, John Donvan, and from Intelligence Squared US.